So a grant opportunity came up from the Department of Education that emphasized two specific literacy practices that were targeted for students primarily in pre-kindergarten or kindergarten. Those two practices are phonologic awareness and dialogic reading. A lot of research has shown that engaging in the ability to manipulate the sounds in spoken language, or phonologic awareness, is a particularly helpful set of skills to have as a pre-reader, and it leads to a strong ability to do things like connect different sounds to the symbols they represent in letter patterns when children get a little bit older. Dialogic reading is a focus on using pieces of high-quality children's literature in specific ways to enhance vocabulary, give children a stronger sense of concepts of print, and encourage oral language looping. This idea that it's not just the teacher telling a story, but it's the idea that the teacher and the students are telling the story together, and you're revisiting the text again and again to release responsibility for that text to the children. We applied for a grant that helped us enhance our own skills and capacity in those two areas, and then link that work to the good work that was going on at Whatcom Day Academy. Because it's not just those two skills, phonologic awareness or dialogic reading, that are the end-all and be-all of everything you do as a early learning teacher, but rather they can connect really well to all those other important things we know about, like linking children's learning to play, like giving them access to a lot of different kinds of print, like the daily oral language interactions that we're doing with students all the time. After receiving the grant, we went through a series of professional development workshops with the teachers at Whatcom Day Academy, and we got a chance to build our own capacity. Each of the teachers had an opportunity to design learning experiences in each of those two areas, and we workshopped those lesson plans. We taught those lessons, we videotaped them, and then moved it into a series of videotape workshops down the road where we got to analyze each other's videotapes and take a look at some of the practices. By videotaping their own practices, the teachers got to make some specific choices about their own practices, then share their videos with each other in workshop, and then it allows us to go to other stakeholders like parents, board members, and other early learning programs to share this good work. Mrs. Millspaw here is working on a zoophonics program, which is a commercial program that gets at a lot of what our grant's goals were. This idea that if we say that phonologic awareness is the manipulation of sounds in spoken language, the zoophonics program does a really nice job of first building letter sound awareness, so the children are learning the different letter names and the sounds that are attached to those letters. The research shows that not just approaching words and manipulating their sounds, but linking them to letters is particularly supportive. And then, once children have a strong base that's connecting the letters to the letter sounds, and then kinesthetic actions like animal actions to each of the letter sounds, they can then begin the process of building words. And so what we see in this video example is children taking their understanding of the letters and the letter sounds first, and then building what we call word families. This notion that an A and an N together make an AN sound, and we can insert different letter names at the beginning of that word to attach to that word family, the A-AN word family, and build words together like fan, man, can, etc. And it's the kind of activity that you don't want to have overwhelm your curriculum, but doing 5 to 10 minutes of this kind of work on a daily basis makes these connections between print and sound a lot more automatic and is really supportive of children's learning. Ms. Katie, during the work in our grant, became a real expert in dialogic reading lessons. It's this idea that by approaching a text multiple times over multiple days, students build a strong familiarity with the text and are able to, after a series of days, take more responsibility for the text and explore the more vivid vocabulary that oftentimes is out of their understanding upon a first encounter with the text, but then grows. An example that I remember from this lesson is that there was a new vocabulary word in Muncha Muncha Muncha, trowel, as being a small little shovel that helps you do gardening. And she really handles that exchange masterfully to introduce that new vocabulary word trowel, so that by the end the students are using it actively, and you can see them using the word trowel on their own. Essentially what Miss Katie is doing during this lesson is she is building excitement, of course, in the text. It's very much like a traditional interactive read-aloud, but what she's trying to do more than an interactive read-aloud is give students opportunities to investigate the illustrations, the text, and ask questions about the vocabulary that are happening to facilitate those oral language interactions. Dialogic reading is intended to be focused on groups of approximately 4 to 6 students versus an interactive read-aloud, which is traditionally done to a whole class. And by focusing with such a small group of students, it allows you more time for conversation and those conversational exchanges, which are, again, so supportive of their literacy growth.
This spring, said Mr. McGreeley, this spring, by golly, I'm going to plant a garden. There he is. What is he looking at there?
He's like, maybe I could get something for my garden.
Maybe I could get something for my garden. Why? What is he looking at, Andrew?
Because he's looking at gardening stuff.
Gardening stuff.
He's looking at the gardening store.
Is it a gardening store? What makes you think it's a gardening store? What do you see?
A watering can.
A watering can Bryn sees.
Clippers.
Clippers. Are those things you've seen used in gardens?
Yeah.
Maybe in garden stores? What is that?
That is a shovel.
A shovel.
So he can dig out the carrots.
You think he brought it to dig out the carrots? How did they get in, Eagles? How did they get in this
They
slide?
jumped over
Peter?
it. They scratchers like just finger on the bottom.
A big hole in the bottom. How did it get there?
I don't know.
I don't know.
They probably
Maybe the bunnies dug it. Well, Andrew did say that this is a shovel. This is a small, special kind of shovel.
A hole right there.
And you see a hole right there. This is a small, special shovel that gardeners use. It's called a trowel. Can you say trowel?
We have a trowel.
Trowel. Oh, Olivia has one.
I do. My grandparents
That makes
have
sense
a
if you have a garden.
trowel.
Her also, yeah, your grandparents have a garden, so they might have a trowel. They all do. Wow. And somebody said maybe they dug this hole to get under.
Yeah, see? Yeah, I see. Look at it.
And he's climbing right out of that hole, so that would make sense.
Okay, I'm going to put the word race right here. And I'm going to put the word ask right here. So you said race says A. So I made it in its own column. Oops. And you said ask says A. So I put it in its own column. Okay.
What we see in this lesson is a really exemplary example of the use of the gradual release of responsibility. It's a lesson model that when you break it down to its most essential components is I do, we do, you do. And what she's doing here is a quick demonstration of a word study principle about the ways that vowels work and gradually releasing it to students to do on their own. This lesson follows a general sequence of the teacher demonstrating first, then the kids having a chance to do some sorting of words based on patterns on their own, and then checking in with the teacher and seeing if the patterns are truly matching up the way that the teacher intended, and then reflecting, talking about, so why do all the words in one column sound the way they do versus another column where they sound a little bit different? For example, long vowels and short vowels.
What? Okay, here's my question to you. A second ago you said this is an A and these are all A. So you were doing them by vowel sounds. So if we keep sorting them by vowels and you keep these as A and these are all A's, how could you make this into two columns that both say A? Look at the way the words look. The vowels. Think about the vowels. What is a vowel? You remember what a vowel is, Eric? Okay.
So that goes here, goes to go here, and these goes.
So show me. Put them on there. Okay. So this guy's all by himself.
Yep.
Why?
Because he doesn't have a silent E at the end.
Because he doesn't have a silent E at the end like this one and this one? Okay. So can you read these out loud for me?
Rain, wait, plan, last, wait, whoa. Wave.
Wave. Because late, lake, wave. What does the A sound like in here?
Rain.
What does the A sound like?
A.
What does the A sound like in here?
Ah.
What does the A sound like in here?
A.
Nice job. Eric, can you paste them on there?
Paste them on.
So one of the benefits of our grant was it allowed, and because we are at such a nimble institution like Whatcom Day Academy, is it allowed us to look ahead a little bit rather than just focusing on early learning, those when children are 3, 4, 5 years old. We got to look ahead to when they move on to becoming 7 and 8-year-olds in first and second grade, when they really do have a strong understanding of the ways that letters match to sound. And so we got a chance to generate some video cases on traditional word study. It's this idea that children generally learn patterns in words in a developmental way and across a very specific continuum that would, for example, start with beginning consonants and then ending consonants in words, and then short vowel patterns in conjunction with digraphs. That's when two letters make the same sound, like a TH making a th sound or an SH making a sh sound. Then long vowel patterns, and then it gets into more complex territory as word study continues.
Why are you moving him?
A.
Yeah, you did it. When you say it out loud, do you hear how you can hear it then? And you hear that cap? Okay, let's just talk about this column. Okay, what's this word?
Rain.
Okay, what's this word?
Plane.
Not plane.
Plan.
Plan. Where would plan go?
One nice thing that Lindsay does in this example as well is she really asks the students to say the words out loud, and so that their ears from an auditory perspective are hearing those words and those patterns, and then they get a chance to articulate and find those patterns, so that then when they locate those very same words in books that they read, they'll have a degree of automaticity that makes it much more easy to read fluently and attend to really what the things they're reading are about. When we look at our early learning classrooms and that emphasis that we had in our grant on phonologic awareness, if a child can manipulate the sounds in spoken language, for example, do a skill like segmenting, where you take a word like boat and say b-o-t, that really translates later to knowing that a certain word is going to have 3 different sounds attached to it, and it allows them to think about the patterns that might go with that particular word once they gain a stronger understanding of the ways that letters match to sounds.
Okay.
And so
would you like to go first, Ella? Okay, let's do your first. Ella. How many sounds did you hear?
Ella.
2. You did hear 2. Did you hear 2 with Ella? Let's do it all together. Ella. I heard 2. How about you, Ava? Did you hear 2?
I heard 3.
Okay. So you heard 3? Well, let's do it again for Lucas. Ella. 2? Did you hear 2 that time? You try it. 2 and then 3? Okay, we'll see. Savannah, would you like to do your name, or do you want some help?
Want some help.
Okay, are you ready? Savannah. Oh, nice job. How many sounds did you hear? Oh, Ryder says 3. Savannah, how many did you hear?
3.
3. Good job.
Well, I heard only 1.
Oh, listen again. Listen again. Savannah. Each time you hear a part of the word, we're going to make the music go. Do it again. Savannah. How many did you hear? 3. Good, Grace. Okay.
Show you the picture.
Pig.
Pig. It's a pig.
Pig.
Not sure, so I'm going to say pig. Pa-I-G.
Pig.
Pa-I-G. I hear 1, 2, 3 sounds. You know how I could check? I could get my marker out
You have
and I
a
can count
marker
them.
and they're fun.
Them. 1, 2, 3 sounds. I'm going to put pig.
Pig.
Is that right, Bryn?
Yep.
Okay. 3 sounds. Where would this go on our T chart? 3. Okay. Here's another one. Let's do this together. Andrew and Peter, what word do you have? Right. Andrew, could you stretch it? Let me write it down while you do it. Do it again. How many sounds was that? 3 sounds. Bring it up here and put it on.
I can do it.
But I know you can handle it because you've been doing harder and harder words, haven't you? Can you push in your chair and sit with me? Okay. Okay. So talk to me about this row.
These all have E's.
They all have E's.
These all have I and E's.
Uh-huh.
These all have double E's.
They do all have double E's. Okay. Let's read your words to check and see if they're in the right spots.
Eve, these, sense,
Scene.
seen, them,
Theme. What's that word?
them,
Them. And do you see how we added an E and so we make it theme? So do these, wait. Do these all have the same sound? What sound was that?
E.
Okay, so are they all in the right spot?
Yep.
Okay.
Chief, grief, friend.
Oh. Did you hear that?
What?
Say these again.
Brief, chief, grief, friend.
What's wrong with friend?
It doesn't go here. It doesn't say.
Why doesn't it go there?
Because it doesn't say the same sound.
It doesn't say the same sound. It's trying to trick you, huh? Because look, it says IE, doesn't it? But we don't say E, do we? You know that friend is end. So let's leave that one to the side for now.
Field, size, seat.
Sees. But wait a second. Do those look the same?
And so we were able to really witness a strong sense of the continuum of the ways that early understandings and phonologic awareness, or the ways we can manipulate sounds, manifest later into attaching those sounds to specific letter patterns. And that was a real benefit of doing this work across a wider scope of ages. The use of the video cases has been immensely helpful for me because it gives students, not only the students who are going to be coming to Whatcom Day for their practica, on that level it's been extremely helpful. They get a sense of the classrooms that they're going to be situated in, they get a sense of who these teachers are, they get a sense of even things as simple as the ways that the classrooms look and the kinds of things that they can expect when they visit those classrooms. On that level it's very helpful. But on an even richer level, or more important level, it gives what I consider is a vision of what really is possible and what we call our best practices, that these cases, having been so thoughtfully constructed and workshopped and approached deliberately, really give students a sense of the kinds of practices we want to see in classrooms on a daily basis. I'm using it in both my early learning classroom, my early literacy learning methods course, and also my early elementary methods course, because many of the practices, for example, Lindsay's word study cases, are really applicable to the kind of work that we're seeing in grades K through 3.